This is Gwen Girl.
And this is AnnRenee.
And welcome again to another installment of AHA Podcast. And we're delving into our third and final installation of the series, Life Reimagined. And we're discussing the impact of COVID-19 in our lives. So to do a recap, we've already done in podcast 1, relationships, the awareness of humanity, or as I like to say, the end of the world mating. Installment 2 was isolation, the power of human contact. And that was so deep, y'all. I tell you, stuff.
rich conversation.
Yeah. I think AnnRenee and I did that some justice according to just us. So that's where you get to tell us, no. But you got to tune in to tell us.
But if you ask us, we think we're great.
Absolutely. And then so today's installment is Uncertainties, the relevance of now. And so I would love to say that this installment is life after COVID-19. But this is more life in the midst of COVID-19. And so my first deep observation about the uncertainties, was just imagining a world where we were going to be masked up forever, or for something that seemed grossly like forever, and that was just kind of like an immediate frontal lobe kind of thing, thinking about what the constraints would look like. I looked at it from I hate to say a negative framework, but it was a negative framework. And I'm a framework girl, as you will really get to know me. And I truly believe that framework is everything. How you call a thing is how it's going to be, if you would. And so then I leaned in a little further in that. And there was a scripture that came to mind that kind of really put me in a place to deal with the possibilities that could come out of this worldwide pandemic. And I'm paraphrasing. I believe I'm a B+ Christian. I just want you guys
to take my grave on a curve.
Yeah. Guys, I'm not going to even lean into why AnnRenee had such a robust,
you got me with that one.
Robust laughter, but I'm explaining that grading system. So
that's too funny.
B+, and it's a shame because I'm really serious. But check out the grading. So B+ is my handling of the word in terms of what it could do for others. I think I'm almost always available to spread some inspiration. So that part that makes me a B+. Now,
okay.
in terms of loving it, I'm an A student. I love the word. I love revelation. And not the book of Revelations, but revelation. I love to have things revealed to me in my spirit that I can actually walk out in my life. So the scripture says everything that can be shaken will be shaken. And the onset of COVID as a world event, if you would, it shook everything. In my mind, everything that could be shaken. Our government has been shaken. Humanity in and of itself has been shaken. All relationships have been shaken. And if shaken is too hard a word for you, shifted. So they've either shifted into a better place or, a not so good place, so it brought about great exposure. And I think if you were someone who was prone to have I don't know, like rigidity in your plans and, just laying everything out, then COVID-19 certainly threw you a curveball because this is something that we are still not in control of. I mean, and even in and of yourself, the things that you have to do to try and make sure that you're safe, they are quite inconvenient. I've not run into a single person that says, oh my God, I'm so glad we've gone to a masked and gloved society because now it makes how I occur so much easier. I don't know of anyone that feels that way. And so, the shaking up of those who had the best laid plans, it also shook up those who live life on the fly, and I think in the middle, when I started processing what this all meant, and I am in my slowly approaching my 60th, and there were a lot of things that I felt were on, I don't even want to say they were back burner items. They were on the shelf. And the shaking of all of this, my spiritual framework was that now was the time. Because everything that we knew, everything we thought, the way we figured things would just be played out, to have the earth, the world, being shaken in every possible space. My framework was, oh my God, chaos is where God created the world and all of everything. Even in the Bible, it says in the beginning, in the principality, in the chaos, God created. And so I was alerted. It's just like, oh my God, this is the perfect time to create new possibilities. And so for me, it was in alignment with my intention to be present, because being present, I now see this as opportunity, opportunity for humanity to go a different way. And then how do you take that and make that a more active conversation? Well, because I am a human and a part of this, then what can I now contribute in this season? What are some of the issues that COVID-19 has exposed? It has exposed hunger, poverty, domestic abuse, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And then it has exposed how crisis, adversity, causes us to come together with our love of humanity being at its core. So you see those who gather together to make masks, to help our healthcare industry be safe, and those who came together to do food banks in ways that were unusual. Restaurants who were losing their livelihood decided to do something in the neighborhood. They were giving instead of, waiting to, for patrons to come in and, buy their food. They were now being the new food banks, if you would, making sure that communities were eating and things like that. So, just so many things to look at. And so, I am excited at the possibilities of now, in the midst of, it's like I have a handle on fear. I am now leaning into, my faith, and I am visioning differently. There are things that I have pulled off the shelf. I am present and accounted for because I have been guaranteed by the happenings in the world that there is nothing you can take for granted, because one day we were safe and the next day we were not. And it wasn't, and I'll let you jump in, AnnRenee. And the thing that really, I think, made it even more relevant was that, here in New Orleans, we experienced Katrina. And so then it was something that the world leaned in, and help was sent in, and, there was sympathy and empathy and, all kinds of things. But, after about 3 months or so, we weren't top of the news feed. We were forgotten, if you would, because of the busyness of life. And then, other new things happening, other new disasters, flooding here or there. And though they may not have been of the magnitude of the devastation of Katrina, things were still happening. And so people became, they went back to either, more global news or local news, and that locale not being the 504, but, COVID-19 is a global pandemic. And so we are all experiencing the heartbreak, the heartache, the poverty of it, the greed that has caused some to make money, and all of those things. So it's everybody is experiencing it. So that everybody is in it is a thing that made me, be aware of, well, how I could contribute, since the playing field is wide open to show up in my gifting. So I know I said a whole lot, y'all, but this is passionate to me. So AnnRenee, take it away.
Well, actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. I was at the beginning when you started talking about being shaken. So your personal perspective and experience, we'll get back to, because I'm not really on that track. I know that, but I was thinking about the shaking of things as you were talking, and 2020, as has been said repeatedly, was quite a year. And so I was thinking about the summer and George Floyd's murder, in the way we were, all of a sudden now people were free to say Black Lives Matter, as if that is a freaking struggle to say, oh, okay, you know what? Black lives do matter. My bad.
Yep.
So, we had, just as you were talking about, we had some months of some awareness, some deep, some shallow, some just, quote unquote, we're trending. This is the thing we do. And then, and then you have this pandemic, and every now, so things have to be totally, so I want to go back. George Floyd, that shaking wasn't enough. It lasted for a few months. Yes. And then people seem to go right back to where they were prior. And so now we're talking about this entire global shaking. And God does not make these things happen, but he certainly allows them to happen, because we have to be shaken out of our complacencies. So when you were talking about the shaking, and how it was, okay, this happened in America, and we saw people around the world who responded to the killing of George Floyd, and just the en masse killing of Black folks at the hands of those who are supposed to serve and protect us without a thought. And we had our brothers and sister citizens across the world who were standing with us, standing up for us humans.
Yes.
We saw all of that. And then, just like Gwen Girl referenced, we slip right back into life, and we know life has to be lived. So then, before we could wrap our minds around the next thing, the vacation, the graduations, the births, the deaths, with all of those momentous occasions, we were shaken again. This time it was on a global scale.
Yep.
So all of these instances, occurrences, circumstances, catastrophes even, are opportunities to present opportunities.
Yes.
Because we can't change it. I can't wake up today and say, okay, COVID, I stop you. You're done today. Today is your last day. But what do I do in the midst of?
Right.
And I think that just was in my mind as Gwen Girl was talking. So I wanted to get that out.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I think it was episode 2 of this installment 2, whatever we want to call it, where we talked about the isolation and how it made you, it brought awareness in that isolation. And I think because COVID forced us to check out of the rat race for a minute, because, you couldn't do anything, the country shut down and all of that. And so then when these crimes are happening, with police brutality and all of these things that are going on, then now humanity is out of the rat race, and they're actually now looking at humanity, and it's like, oh my God, what's really happening? Because, all before you could have these shootings and things like that, it's nothing new. Trayvon Martin's and, all others, and things like that. But we really got the world on board with what was, what is systemic and going on in the United States in terms of Black Lives Matter and police brutality and all of that. But it took even the introduction of COVID to slow us down so that we could not just give, that's unfortunate. What are those people doing to deserve that? It's like people now have the time to actually, look at the footage, listen, with awareness to the video cams, the audio and video of these things. And it just, I don't know, life being more precious and sacred made us look at, most of us anyway, I would offer to say, this isn't right. We had the toppling of Confederate statues and all of that because they were a symbol of hatred and, all of that. But, we had our fellow, white Americans, if you would, and I like to say just fellow humanitarians, HUE, all of those of different hues, they were on board because they, it was like, we are one in this. It's like, all lives matter. And from that vantage point, you guys are trying to devastate Black lives, so it was, again, seeing that come together, in a movement that was bigger than us was also hopeful, even though the reason we came together was, unfortunate. But seeing that and knowing that things will change, I am definitely not just optimistic about that. I believe that it is so. There are so many things that have been set in motion. There are so many things that no longer can be, pushed under the rug. If you're doing elephant maintenance, and that's trying to conceal the elephant in the room, there's not enough fabric, there's not enough imagination to convince people that this is not here. So I just think it's going to take us to continue in this way. And if COVID-19 is the way in which we decided we would be able to face truth, then I would say that out of all the lives that have been sacrificed and that are yet to be sacrificed, humanity is certainly worth it. So again, framework for me is everything. And AnnRenee said so profoundly on the last installment, she talked about when the numbers reached 100,000 deaths, and her pondering was, all of those gifts, gone to the grave and things like that. I think that there is an awareness in this timing, in the season, and that I know I, for one, want to be on the side of promulgating, this is a time to inspect yourself, see where you are, see what you can do. You don't have to have a mega vision, you just need a vision. And if it's just to change your neighborhood, and if changing your neighborhood means changing the way you view it, then, you're already on top of this thing. So, AnnRenee, I want you to jump in here in terms of our podcast and what, the difference with this podcast and, how this kind of fits into the work, because we've reimagined how we've done it, and we're feeling good about how the content is availing itself. So I hope I didn't put you on the spot, because I know you.
Yeah, you kind of did, but that's all right. Because of two things. I was thinking about what you were just saying with the your personal work, because as I'm listening, I'm thinking, you can start thinking things are so big. What can I do to make an impact in this big thing? Again, this worldly thing, this global happening. So I like to think about things in bite size. That's my phrase anyway, always back to food, unfortunately. So what, so what's what so I like the bite size, and I also like checking off things on lists, okay, done that, okay, good. I'm moving on that. Good. I feel good about that. So I like that you said you can bring it right home to your person, to you personally, and what impact you can have starting in your house. Because this pandemic shook us so much. It also made us take a moment to see or look at, how am I even dealing with those with whom I live? Not just my perspective and how I interact day to day with my spouse, with my roommate, with my children, with my mom, with my dad, whomever it is you're sharing that space with on an ongoing basis. So those kinds of things, it's amazing if you change just a little bit about your own perspective, and put that finger that you're pointing out inward.
I lost you.
Then it can begin to change your world right there. So that's one thing. And as we were talking about those changes, and Gwen Girl felt it really, really in her spirit, was a confirmation of what I felt months earlier, that we have to talk about this COVID-19 and its effect on us, and then its effect going out. How we think there are others who would want to share this conversation, how we think there might be something just strictly in the sharing that can help and heal others.
Absolutely.
It's not about that we know so much. It's just that we have our own experiences and perspectives. And you get two people in the room and you've had these encounters. And again, we're going to go back a lot to these references because these are so New Orleans kinds of things. But you can be in the grocery store line and then you can start talking about something, and you too, girl, I did too. Isn't that something? So you have these shared experiences, and the only way to know that is to share. And so we thought this would be, while a devastation, it could provide some devastatingly needed healing, help, just a laugh, even a perspective, a reimagining, or a shuffling of the way you're thinking about things and dealing with things. Anything that can be brought up. We want to go up, and so we like to say we do everything, and we pray that it's translated in love, because that's what we have, that's what we share, that's what we feel, and that's what we want to give out. So that's my 2 minutes. This has been brought to you by AnnRenee. So if you're gonna put me on the spot, you gotta have to.
yeah. And then so just to piggyback on that particular pig, yeah, right. Because when you think about that, is people say that piggyback, yeah. So to talk about our podcast, and so we know we love to talk, and all things, spiritual, funny, film. I mean, just all things. And so we've done prior podcasts, and they were good, da 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 da. But we still kind of felt like there was more. We weren't quite hitting who we were in its totality. And so AnnRenee was the one who actually brought up this particular topic, and to do our podcast. And I was really excited about that, because this wasn't anything you had to actually go and view. I mean, we live in this real time, so it's like, right. I'm all about not having to do the homework. I just want to jump in and do the girl work. So that's running my mouth with her. And so we were trying to get it started, and there was some I don't know, just kind of dragging it. Yeah,
start and
yeah,
stop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it seemed to be the same pattern as before, but we both knew that this was our moment. And so we kind of talked about it, and then we jumped in the saddle, and the saddle was broken in terms of there was an issue with my laptop speaker and something. So then that evolved into getting professional mics, quality sound, brought to you by AnnRenee, who purchased quality mics. And so it's so funny, so we got the mics, and then we figure out that we've got to tape this thing at
according to what I'm
dark
seeing
30 in the morning. Yeah. So that central time, that would be when you wake up 4:00 in the morning. And so all of that worked. And then we found out that in the intention of just doing great work, giving you good quality sound for something we determined to be priceless, a place to reflect, a place to discuss this thing that, people are talking about, but, sometimes you just need a different perspective, and we are, the reflective perspective. And so then, things just started to coming together with just that small intention. And so then we believe that this podcast has a place that COVID-19 has opened us up to doing it in a different way. And,
we've been shaken in such a way.
Yeah, that, we have been shaken to excellence.
Shifted.
Because we getting it did, people, not done. We get her done. That is where we are. And so, so I said that to say about
that's so true. I just want to say, because we know that we have a purpose.
Yeah.
And so this it really was. It was okay. Now we have to just shake, and some of that shaking is we got to shake off some stuff.
Yeah,
we got to shake off all our own stuff that dragging the butt. That
habits.
So our a lot of those habits. Oh, right. So truly, this is a reimagining, even for us personally, about the way in which we want to go forward with this conversation, because it's we think, again, ask us and we think we're great. We think we are also engaging in some rich dialogue with you guys.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, the better for all of us.
Yeah. And then another point even about us, this particular podcast series, there was a lot of sharing, personal sharing. And I don't think we intentionally left that out in prior podcasts, but I tell you, there's such a personal work going on here, because we truly, we are here in this moment, and we know we are not alone in the profound changes that this has brought to humanity, big and small. And it is, I don't know, it's just a space. And so we were willing to be vulnerable, because you don't, sometimes you just don't want to open up and just share some personal things, because you might live your life guarded. But I tell you, the conversation has been rich. If you listen to all three, you'll find out all kinds of fun facts about our lives. Did that sound like I'm trying to bait you to listen? I'm just saying.
Good work, Gwen Girl.
Yeah,
good work.
I'm just saying, Blue's Clues. There could be a prize at the end of this.
That's too much.
Yeah. So I said all that seriously to say, I think it's a Chinese proverb that says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. What is your one step? What is your one step? What is your one steady thing you can do in a time where everything that can be shaken has been shaken? What is your one step that will establish you to be better in terms of how you occur in humanity? And even if humanity is a small circle of friends, what is it that you're now aware of, either painfully aware of or joyfully aware of, that you can either correct or continue, if you would. So doesn't have to be a big thing, it's the little things, that add up. And I'm gonna do my B plus version of my A, loving the word. The Bible says it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. So it means, it's the little things that can snare you, but it's also because there's such power in those little things. Then if you take that little thing and are intentional about it, if you're loving about it, that little thing could change so much. That little thing could now become this thing that snowballs into something huge and, unstoppable. So I don't know. I'm going to give my aha moment here. So my aha moment is realizing that the only thing I have is now. And though that sounds cliche, it is so important to be present and accounted for, because in the now, there is such awareness, if you're present, about what's around you. And more often than not, those things that we are worried about, that we're running into next week for, if we are present, we get to take it all in and realize that the answer for next week's problem was already in front of us. So be present, be accounted for, be aware. And
that's exactly mine. It's 2 words. My aha moment: be present. And of course 2 words mean, and then I times that, 2 times 2 times 2. Don't get so far ahead that you miss the pleasure of now. Because sometimes we can think, particularly for us women, I think, and mothers, you start planning. Planning is what you have to do. It's organized. I got to make sure everything is this way so that we can do this thing, and you can move. You can not be in a position to enjoy that very moment or
Absolutely.
Even appreciate. So be present is definitely my aha moment for this podcast, the previous ones that have gone forth, and moving forward. And if there is nothing additional, I just want to thank you guys so much for listening. This is the 3rd installment of The Impact of COVID-19 Life Reimagined podcast. Again, our first one was relationships, awareness of humanity. Check that out. Our second, isolation, power of human contact. The power of human contact. I just had to say that again because it is a powerful conversation. And we're wrapping up now, uncertainties and the relevance of now. Right now is relevant. Right now is relevant. So I'm AnnRenee.
And this is Gwen Girl.
We thank you for listening. We'll see you next time on the AHA Podcast. Bye.